Hi, my little calaveras, and welcome to, or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, hello, I'm Jinx, and if you're returning, welcome back. So for today's story, we have a creepy Appalachia story. So if you're ready to hear this creepy tale, sit back, relax, and let's enjoy these stories together. I refrain myself from putting my name out on here, but I just can't keep this to myself anymore. Last year, despite all that was going on, I decided to vacation to a small cabin in the Appalachian Mountains. It wasn't any more than 500 feet, but it was enough for me to get away from it all. And before you ask, I followed all the rules for going on a trip alone. I gave my friends and family my location and the date that I was expected to return. Kept a radio on me for emergencies along with my sidearm, just in case. I began driving February 16th. By the 18th, I was driving up to the cabin. It was late at night, and the only thing on my mind was the bed waiting for me inside. I got out of my car and stared at my trunk with my bags and just thought, fuck it, and decided to unload tomorrow morning. Honestly, I wish I hadn't. As I walked up to the porch of the cabin, the wooden steps creaking below my feet, echoing into the forest around me, I heard what sounded like clicking. Click, 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 click. It was faint, but loud enough to get my attention. I spun around, only to see my parked car. The clicking stopped. Jesus Christ, I need sleep, I thought, unlocking the door. Walking into the cabin, I flicked on and then off the lights and flopped onto the bed, fully dressed, and just passed out. A few hours later, I was woken up by a scream. It sounded like a woman's, and it immediately woke me up. I laid on my stomach, in the darkness, waiting to hear it again. My heart pounded. Every second felt like minutes. Every minute felt like hours. Until I heard it again. A shrill, blood-curdling scream out in the forest. Distant, but not more than half a mile away. Shit, what should I do? I slowly got up and grabbed my sidearm. I can't do nothing. I sprang up and ran to my car, but only when I reached out, my car door was open. I turned on my phone light, and what I saw wasn't good. My car doors and trunk were all open, and my stuff, including my ammo and first aid kit, were gone. I was panicking. I got into the driver's seat and tried to start my car. Over and over, I tried to start it. And then it stalled. I smashed my fist down into the horn, screaming in a fit of rage and panic. And then the screaming began again. A woman's distant scream drove me to do something, anything. So I grabbed my flashlight from the glove box and rushed into the forest. For hours, I walked in the direction of the screaming. And after 3 hours of walking, the screaming came from the opposite direction. I ran back towards the sound, surely to find an injured woman back at my cabin. But I only found more trees. Before I knew it, I was lost. And then the woods went dead silent. No crickets, no wind, no screaming. Now I was bringing to really panic, disoriented, and now in dead silence. In a flurry of paranoia, I flipped on my flashlight, and all around me, thousands of them, eyes, glowing eyes surrounded me. I then remembered my old ranger training, and I immediately leaned my head to one side and began running. I figured my equilibrium was off for some reason, and then I realized it was them. Whatever the fuck those eyes belonged to. There wasn't any woman. It was all them. I ran as fast as I could. I heard them following me. The fleshy tapping of feet, the knocking of hooves, the flapping of wings, all behind me. Soon I reached a river, and then began sprinting hard. My lungs were on fire. My heart was about to burst. I ran for what felt like hours, and suddenly I stumbled upon a small town. Lights and a small gas station were my salvation. I ran into the street lights and turned around to the woods with my gun and flashlight on the forest. The eyes just sat at the edge of the forest, staring at me. I backed up to the pump of the gas station and sat there, staring at them too, until eventually the sun came up. The owner of the gas station arrived and gave me a ride to the police station, where I was able to call my friends for a ride home. Once I got home, I got myself weekly therapy appointments and just kept my mouth shut to everyone but my therapist about what happened. My friends think I ended up getting robbed. I couldn't tell them what happened. They wouldn't believe me. But maybe you will. I don't know what those things were or why the hell they were there. Just don't. Do not vacation in the Appalachians for your own safety. So, a little backstory. I grew up in the suburbs of Philly and Pennsylvania. Somewhat rural and kind of normal suburbia. Sometimes, when I was a kid, I would go to a summer camp in the Poconos Mountains. The Nape natives and the like populated them in the old days. So this happened when I went to Camp Watonka, the summer that I was 15 or 16 years old. The camp was doing manhunt, which all the younger kids loved. It's essentially hide and seek mixed with tag, done in the dark. Every kid was given a small flashlight and told to stay in groups over at least 2. So, being the little shits we were, me, a kid named Scott, and a kid named Eric went up to where our bunk was. I'm going to try to draw a really basic setup of the camp. Overall, there's the main camp that has most of the cabins. It's lower down than the lake, where we swam and fished, the older kids' cabin. I should say now that it was an all-boys camp. So me, Scott, and Eric go up to our bunk. No one else is there. It was all supposed to stay in the main camp. No one goes up to the lake area, and no one crosses the bridge into the woods. Not the trees, but the opposite side of the bridge across a gorge that led into deep forestation. No one is really allowed in it past sunset. Makes sense. It's dangerous, and kids are idiots. So, the 3 of us are chilling on the steps to the cabin, reading comics and being idiots. Then we see someone coming from the woods area that rims the majority of the lake. This is weird because everyone, including the counselors and kids, were supposed to be in the main camp. But also, there were no pathways into those woods. So they're 50 yards away from us, just kind of hobbling towards us. Eric suggested that they could be hurt, and we should help them. To which Scott said, "Fuck off." I said it's probably a counselor trying to scare us for not playing the nightly game. Scott likewise said, "Fuck off." When he was around 10 yards out, we could see what he looked like. Moonlight and the dimmish cabin lights, he looked like he'd been in a fight. Like his nose was off, his cheeks must have been shattered, and his jaw was limp. He didn't really walk as much as stumbled eloquently. Scott later described his appearance as caveman got fucked up by a gray and then dropped from the mothership, which fits well. So the three of us are making jokes about how it's a nice costume, how he's an ugly fuck, etc. When he was about 10 feet away, we realized a few things. It reeked like blood. The fleshy iron tinge, it was just in the air. We also heard the canteen bell, which means everyone, and I mean everyone except us three, is down in the main camp. Insert noping. Scott, Eric, and I run the fuck inside and lock the thin pine door. The thing walked up to the steps we'd been hanging out on, just stood there. It easily could have broken the door and gotten to us. But it stood there, probably for about 10 minutes. Then it shrieked. I've since read other skinwalker stories, and let me tell you that no matter how hard we try, nothing matches that noise. When it stopped, it ran away, like swiftly and extremely fast. We stayed inside our cabin, too scared to leave. About 3 minutes later, I'm guessing, 4 of the head counselors came through the area on quads, each with a rifle. When they saw that we weren't at the canteen, they figured we were here. Then they heard the shriek. Apparently, they never crossed the bridge and only did stuff at night. I was told this by the older counselors later. They were testing the waters with us. Hi, my little calaveras. Now, if you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe. Also, like, comment, share, all the good things. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I know I usually don't do 2 stories in one, but I felt the first story, even though it was good, was a little too short, so I figured I'd add it on another one. I always do like the creepy Appalachian tales because I feel like there's so many different things that happen there that we don't understand. And then, of course, who doesn't like a nice summer camp story in the middle of summer? As always, in the description, I have my socials linked in case you want to follow me on Instagram or X. And then also I have my Gmail and Reddit in case you want to either send a story or maybe read some of my stories that I have written. I do have more of my originals coming, and I've gotten some inspiration for some new stories and chapters, so stay tuned for those. And I am rambling, I am so sorry. But before I go, Remember, my little calaveras, don't let anyone or anything steal your light. Check under your bed at night. And until next time, bye.